Dr. McLaughlin, I want you to explain to us what was wrong with Tamar and what did you have to do to treat her?
So what happened was Tamar was having shortness of breath, and as you heard on the news, they thought it was pneumonia.
Yeah.
And it can be confused, right? She was coughing, she was out of breath, and it got worse and worse and worse. Luckily, in the emergency room, the doctors did a blood test called a D-dimer test that was very high, and that's consistent with a pulmonary embolus.
Wow.
So they went to the next step to do the CAT scan that showed multiple blood clots in her lungs.
Ugh.
When we see that as a doctor, we say, okay, we see that that's bad in her lungs. Now, where do they come from? Typically, it's from the lower extremity, the legs, women sometimes in the pelvic area, and less frequently up in the veins in the chest. It turns out that after Tamar got the appropriate, first line blood thinners, then oxygen, monitoring of her heart, because we had to make sure that the heart function was fine. In some people, the heart function can get very dilated, and that's very, very serious. So after that was all done, and she started getting the treatment, and nothing was found in her legs or in her pelvis, ultimately, they found a blockage in the subclavian vein, which is right here under the collarbone.
Subclavian vein.
Subclavian vein. And so we know that Tamar is unique. And so she's going to get something that's not going to be the average run-of-the-mill blood clot in the leg.
Sure.
It's going to be something different. And it's very different. It's much more uncommon. So luckily, she had a great vascular surgeon, too, who took over and helped take care of her.
Wow.
Wow.
Crazy. Then what, I know that you also had to go through major surgery, Tamar, to get that rib removed. Dr. Tulloch, can you tell us about that procedure?
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's a little bit of an unusual condition. So thoracic outlet syndrome for Tamar is because she's essentially an athlete. So it's, athletes who use their upper extremities a lot can develop the muscle that attaches to the first rib, and it can actually get pulled up and compress the vein. And what happens is you get a blood clot, and unfortunately, she had a pulmonary embolus as a result. So even though she was treated for the pulmonary embolus, she really had to have that rib removed in order to remove the obstruction of her vein.
Was it a long surgery?
It takes about 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, wow. So we do it through the armpit, and it's working in a little bit of a tunnel. But, you see the nerve, the artery, and the vein, and you see the muscles, and you come around, and you're able to dissect those free, and then take it down, and then remove the entire rib.
Wow.
And you have the picture.
I do. It looked like Friday ribs.
You ain't gonna never eat ribs again.
Never.
eh?